Sacred Knowledge, a Center for Enlightenment production, brought to you by Entheogens. First thing we have to get is the adversary's name, because in the garden that's kind of where it all got started. Humanity began to eat from the Amanita muscaria. That's the mushroom on the left here, and its symbol is that of a stop sign, telling most of nature this is dangerous. But that's the story of our lives. It's dangerous. I don't recommend it. Among the Maya, it was called the evil mushroom. Here you can see the red cap with the white spots. The French church has a very powerful message. It's called fresco in the 12th century AD. It's in Alexander Schultes' book, Plants of the Gods. And you see on the left and here on the right the depiction of a mushroom tree with a snake or serpent in it. That is the forbidden fruit. It's making a comeback online, unfortunately. But I don't think people will get much out of it. It takes a lot of knowledge to get it prepared right. And when you eat it, the best you can get out of it is a Spock-like, no empathy state, which would be dead as humans see it. You know, does he have a heart? No. But that's what this red tree does. Here you see the depiction of Adam and Eve, and this is a Neolithic votive. It's called the Venus of Willendorf, and you can see the top has got the Amanita muscaria cap. And the twist and spiral of the morning glory, Satan's biggest advocate. So this is Satan's name. Sorry to break it to you, but you're better off knowing the truth of how we got to where we are. We ate that fruit in the garden and got kicked out, and we had to leave the tree of life alone until Christ came. Not that people weren't microdosing. There's even images of the Tower of Babel being built by people who are microdosing. Hi, Silicon Valley. Alright, so you got the goddess down here with her spiral symbol. It's believed because Lucifer can appear as an angel of light. He can take the form of a goddess and convince worshippers to believe in him. A little more stylized image of the tree of knowledge of good and evil with the morning glory, which is Lucifer's name, wrapping up the branches to the fruit. Again, saying what I'm trying to explain is that Lucifer has a name plant called the hallucinogenic morning glories, pearly gates, or flying saucers. And the Amanita muscaria was the tree that we weren't supposed to eat. So now if you look at it from God's point of view, what he was really saying is don't commune with Satan. The morning glory, Lucifer's name plant. Okay, so here we have Eve depicted as Athena, which, you know, the mythology on it is that Athena popped out of Zeus's head, came out of his imagination. That after Eve had eaten of that tree of good and evil, she no longer was Hera, but was Athena, the fallen, or risen as the Greeks called it, goddess, the goddess of war and wisdom. And carefully depicted is a shield with a snake, the serpent, Lucifer, behind it. And this, for those listeners who don't know, is a Nike, a little logos spirit. Not the true logos, but speaks into the mind of everyone. Seems to have a devil and an angel on their shoulder. And some people get possessed, which is a really strong point for Christianity in its roots, is that demon possession is real. Alright, here we have the morning glory symbol in the owl's eye. This is because this is because Athena, her symbol is the owl. And the press corps, major media, use the owl as one of their symbols when they get together. Native Americans believe the owl was a sign of death. Some Native Americans. Here we have the morning glory tendril on the right, coming from Xochipilli, and the eyes have that same tendril. That's important because the eyes are where the doorway of the soul is. Also see the morning glory tendril on Horus, one of the Egyptian gods, the child god of Osiris and Isis. Great story there, but I'll tell it to you in a little while. Here we have Bohemian Grove, where the elites get together and burn care. And here we have Hephaestus. Hephaestus was probably Tubal-Cain, the first iron and forge master, blacksmith. On the left we see the morning glory tendril here, done as a square, but still the tendril. And we have the vine of the morning glory here depicted, slightly stylized, but the leaves are about appropriate. And the seed pods, though not exactly like that, could be also depicted like this. Another vase having the morning glory leaf depicted on it. And the morning glory was very important to Greek culture. In the eye of Hephaestus, you see the morning glory tendril again. And the feathered serpent, which is his name among the Mesoamericans, Kukulkan, the feathered serpent. Those are just names for Lucifer's plant name. The Greek Franciscan friars and Jesuits had a terrible time converting the Native Americans of Central and South America because they said they already had a deity that they worshipped in the morning glory seeds. Here you have the morning glory. This is basically a votive cup used probably for the consumption of either adult beverages or perhaps even the morning glory potion, the seeds crushed in water. And he's got the classic goatee. That's why the goat is often used as a symbol for Lucifer, because of the goatee and of the pernicious habit of goats to eat just about anything. Also, the preternatural ear, meaning he hears your thoughts. Also known as the glory of the morning, that's one of Lucifer's names. And I believe that's because the morning glory wilts by midday, but in the morning it's fresh and beautiful, that five-pointed star inside of the circle. The hidden manna. The hidden manna comes up in the book of Revelations 2:17, where he mentions some of the hidden manna will be given to the churches if they follow God's way. So you can imagine somebody showing up after harvesting a bunch of mushrooms and bringing it to the church, who would have mixed it into bread so that nobody would know what the communion wafer really was. Only the elect would know. Why did they keep it a secret? Well, the Jews had a name for God that no one could say. It's just the nature of life is that you don't put your most sacred pearls before swine. You might say, well, why are you teaching then? I've been commissioned to teach this stuff, hopefully at a very large scale, but the internet's big enough for now. This is the Greek Seth, was Ares, the god of war. Seth was, Adam and Eve had 3 children, Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, and then after that they had Seth. And Seth, it says that during Seth's day, mankind began to call upon the name of God again. So you can see the mushroom image, the name of God, which is a mushroom scroll with a scallop shell above it, or below it in this case. Among the Babylonians and the Assyrians, particularly at Nimrud, a desert fortress that's used to be quite lush and green, no doubt, we find signs of the tree of life, the other tree in the garden, which we were told we couldn't eat of once we had eaten the manna to Mascaria and become like God, knowing good and evil. Clear depiction of that tree of life is just a bunch of psilocybin mushrooms coming off of a fountain, the fountain of life. And here's another picture of the mushroom with the lily symbol. The lily is called in French the fleur de lis, or the lily of light. Now here's a really interesting one. This is a cloth pattern showing mushrooms interconnected with flowers because they were considered to be the earth flowers. And there you see Mary being visited by the Archangel Gabriel, whose name is the poppy. That's his name plant. And you can see two little poppies being depicted in her halo here, with a couple little mushrooms that she probably also ate, which induced the vision of the Archangel Gabriel coming to tell her that she's going to have the Messiah. A lot of people say, oh, well, Christianity is just a rehashing of other belief systems, the Babylonian, the Assyrian, the Persian, the Medes. Anyway, I think not. I think when Christ walked on the water, that was because ancient man believed that the sun walked on water. So God gave him that. When Nimrod and his wife Semiramis had a child, Tammuz, the child was deified, and Semiramis said that it was a miraculous birth, that she hadn't had intercourse with a man, but had just miraculously become pregnant. So God, seeing that, knowing that humanity had fallen for that lie, basically duplicated, said, anything you can come up with, Satan, I can actually do. This here is Elizabeth and Mary when they greet, and the child John the Baptist is in her womb, and Jesus is in Mary's womb. Here we have the mushroom shown as a grail cup. This is a 600 AD medallion, and in the medallion you see Jesus here on the left, and the man who's got his bed on his back is picking mushrooms. So at 600 AD, humans were still believing that the living water was psilocybin. Not all of them, of course, but some of them. A little close-up of the man with the bed on his back, and Jesus saying, this is the way. Jesus said the way is narrow and few will find it. Well, that's how rare it is. But he also said, blessed are those who believe who have not seen. So apparently the sacrament is not necessary for salvation. Anyway, I'd bank on that. Early Christianity from Rome, Cappadocia, when they fled Israel because of the destruction by the Romans in 70 AD, they went to Cappadocia, to the mountains. And there they carved out rocks to look much more like mushrooms, as you can see here. With the cap, or the capstone, Jesus' name. It really makes much more sense when Jesus stood up in front of the whole crowd and said, you must eat my body in order to be saved. We do it by faith now, but at that point in time, he was actually beginning to advocate for one of the great secrets of all time, the psilocybin mushroom, the tree of life, to become a central stone that others would stumble over. But he himself seems to have been a representative of this ancient tree. The keyhole, you'll notice this key has the mushroom cross sections in it. They kind of look like horseshoes down here, but these are, when you cut your mushrooms up for your pizza topping, take a look at them. They have this exact curl. If it was that important, people would have encoded it, and they did. Not only do they encode it in their artwork, but they encode it into their very houses. Smurfs, as the Norwegian tale says. Gargamel is always trying to catch the little blue people and turn them into gold. That's because the alchemist is always trying to produce the philosopher's stone, which could make them a lot of money if they put it into a potion. This potion will heal you, this potion will make you happy, this is a love potion. What we call snake oil. Mushrooms and stone, more mushrooms and stone. This is again Gorham, Cappadocia, where they just carved. This is called the Valley of Love, as I'm sure you can guess why, because what else looks like a mushroom? So anyway, these are the monasteries that are still in service, not being used, but you can still visit them. Inside the monasteries, you see this man on a horse with a great halo and glowing eyes, and in his cape there is a carefully depicted psilocybin mushroom. And there's the mushroom compared to the houses. This is a Bible cover with grape leaves and either wine vats or possibly psilocybin mushrooms. If you look at this one down here in the corner, it's got the nipple or umbo. It's got the curls of the mushroom and the stem. This is a lot clearer Bible cover. This is a stone Bible cover, probably for the Gospel of Luke, since his symbol was the eagle. And out of the cup rises the mushroom, the Holy Grail. This is a Bible page, and it shows John the Evangelist, as in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. And here he's being boiled in oil, but they couldn't kill him. And let's take a closer look at that. And this is the tree of life, or the living water, being depicted as John opens the way, showing it to whoever he was educating on the matter. Probably from the Isle of Patmos. The focus here is both the colors selected by the biblical iconographer and the content of the art. The colors are those of psilocybin cubensis. Blue is the staining color given off by the active ingredients psilocybin and psilocin. Orange is an intermediary coloring common to both cubensis and other species. Gold and red are stages that the alchemist points out in books on alchemy. The golden or the red stage, the white stage. These are all just watching the actual production of psilocybin mushrooms in a jar or a glass. That's how they look. And the degree of sunlight they get determines how much they are either white before they're hit by the sun, or golden colored, or orange colored. You see that fish, one of the symbols for Christ, because here it is in a nutshell. Nimrod, who built the Tower of Babel, had 72 adversaries that were descendants of Noah. And those 72 came and they basically cut Nimrod up into 14 pieces. And they sent it around, distributing it throughout the nations to warn people not to try to basically come one up on God. So after that, the Tower of Babel fell apart into babbling languages that people didn't understand. And I would suspect that people were taking doses of the psilocybin mushroom and doing it inappropriately. For the Bible says that if you eat it inappropriately, you drink and eat punishment upon yourself. So the fish is a symbol for Christ, because in the Egyptian mythology about Nimrod, because a big happening like that, everybody would remember it, but they encoded it as Nimrod was the good guy, as the Greeks did too. The Greeks called him Hercules, whereas the Egyptians called him Osiris. Osiris was caught by 72 men and was put into a casket, and then later was cut into 14 pieces. The 13 pieces were found by Isis, but the 14th piece was the male member, and the male member was missing. And that is what they refer to as the lost word of Freemasonry. You can see that the vine, the true vine that Jesus said that he was, is here depicted being eaten by a bird, and it's the psilocybin cubensis mushrooms. The story of Lazarus. Jesus tells the story of Lazarus, where Lazarus is a poor man begging at the door of a rich man's house, and this is a Bible page illustration, and he dies and goes to heaven. But the rich man, who was very rough, unkind to the poor man, goes to hell. So here is Lazarus' body, and out of it's coming a soul out of the mouth. And here he's sitting in heaven on God's lap. And you see these mushroom trees being depicted. Now, mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, are basically an orally active DMT, dimethyltryptamine. That's what causes our dreams at night. The visionary state called dreaming is caused by the release of DMT from within the brain. It's believed to be controlled by the pineal gland, but the actions are not yet fully understood. Whereas the rich man, when he dies, he goes to Hades because he was ungenerous in his life. So what happened was Jesus told the story of Lazarus, and then his friend named Lazarus, the brother of Mary and Martha, died. And so Jesus enacts the story of resurrecting Lazarus because he knows that Lazarus was a story he told about the man dying, and then his friend died. So naturally it occurs to Jesus that this must be a time for a great miracle. And it was. It was a powerful resurrection from the dead. Here we have another set of Bible pages, and you can see the psilocybin mushroom clearly depicted here with the lily symbol, its personal signature, above the head of this rider, one of the three wise men, and they're pointing at the star that led them to Bethlehem. And again, the psilocybin mushroom here. On their return journey, you see the psilocybin mushroom tree of life, being depicted in the middle. The marijuana leaf here depicted. I'm going to have to breeze back to this page. So this is a marijuana leaf here, psilocybin here, and the morning glory depicted just like it is on the Greek pottery, the leaf that's a spade shaped and the three little seed pods. So this guy, I assume, ate the morning glory. This guy ate the psilocybin mushroom. This guy partook in marijuana. And only these two are really getting along. This guy's looking pretty downtrodden. But morning glories are like a credit card for, serotonin raises to the point where DMT releases. So you can get some good out of the morning glory, but I wouldn't really recommend it. The teacher's name. In the East, we have all these gurus, which this guru is being depicted in blue, light blue, with a halo, and he's got the mushroom umbrella above his head. If it doesn't blue, don't bother. Here we have a couple of saints. This guy is looking at Jesus' body, and she is looking at the cup, the grail cup, his blood, and in their halos have nicely depicted psilocybin mushrooms, even bluing a little bit with a gold top. This is my body, do this in remembrance of me. This is my blood, do this for the forgiveness of sins. The resurrection, Jesus said, I will not drink again of this fruit of this vine until I am risen anew. So here he is on the cross being stabbed in the chest. This is the wine sponge that was passed up to him. One of the Gospels seems to have him accepting it. So we know the Last Supper probably he wasn't talking about vino in veritas. He wasn't talking about wine, red wine. He was talking about new wine, perhaps. So here he is with his tomb clothes on, basically naked except for a cover, and he's out in the field picking the psilocybin mushrooms. As he said, the fields are white for the harvest. He wasn't just talking about our souls, I believe. He was also talking about the sacrament. Here's a relic from early on in Christianity, and it shows the mushroom, big cap with an umbo, little teeth around the edge. And they're opening the bottom of the mushroom, and what's revealed is the Holy Bible. I believe, for one, that the Holy Bible was about, it was God-inspired, and that it came from the use of people taking the psilocybin mushroom. The iconoclastic period is why we don't know about these things. They basically tried to wipe it out. In fact, I'm working on a presentation where I talk about how this mystery, this message, this medicine, this plant medicine, went missing. They say, those only grow in South America or Central America, but we find them in Africa, we find them in India, we find them in Italy. These psilocybin mushrooms grow all over the earth. And here is somebody who was clearly inspired by them, Saint Basil. Alright folks, that's it for now. Hope you got the sacred knowledge out of this. God bless you, and vaya con Dios.